So we start the session today. I, Dr. Karunanidhi Usha, Director Accreditation, take immense pleasure in welcoming the Honorable Vice Chancellor, Sri Balaji Vidyapeetham, Professor S.C. Parija, sir, and the two eminent speakers for the day from two eminent universities that are setting the gold standards in quality and excellence, and we look up to both the universities. Professor Sandeep S. Shenoy, Director Compliance from Manipal Academy of Higher Education, Manipal, and Professor Prashant R. Nair, Vice Chairman AQAC of Amrita Vishwa Vidyapeetham, Coimbatore. I also welcome the members of the SBV family from the main and the off-campus who have joined us through the Zoom. This CAP series on quality auditing, reporting, periodic milestones and accreditation process is being done to commemorate the World Quality Day, which usually falls on the second Thursday of every November. The theme in 2022 is quality consciousness versus quality conscience. Though they sound synonymous, they are truly different. While quality consciousness is a state of being aware of the need for quality, quality conscience is a state of having an awareness of executing it in the right way. So to be quality conscious, indeed, it requires a lot of training, continuous learning, and updating of the existing knowledge to do whatever we do in a better way and in a correct way. Thus, aptly, the main objective of this CAP series is to learn more on the academic and administrative audit and the annual quality assurance reporting submitted to the NAAC every year, and to perfect the systems that are existing at SBV. Now, I request the Honorable Vice Chancellor, Professor S.C. Parija, to bless the occasion with his opening remarks. Over to you, sir.
Thank you very much, Professor Usha. At the outset, it will be my immense pleasure to welcome you all on my behalf and behalf of our large family of Sri Balaji Vidyapeetham and our Chancellor, Sri N.K. Rajgopalan, for this program on quality orientation program being held under the CAP series of our universities. I must congratulate Dr. Usha, Director of Accreditation, for thoughtfully hosting this program. And as all of us know, the component of quality or the quality component is becoming an important part, an integral way of the activities and the outcomes of across all the institutes, including our universities. Our university, Sri Balaji Vidyapeetham, is always, as earlier, quality conscious, and to make this process integrated with the wage of our process activities, and we have to take all our stakeholders into confidence. By this I mean we have to involve the stakeholder of the universities, that includes faculties, students, both undergraduate and postgraduates, and administrative staff and other staffs who have been contributing to the growth and development of our universities. So in this context, I'm really happy that of many components for implementation of quality auditing and reporting, it plays a vital role. Hence, this quality auditing and reporting, which contributes a lot to the milestones in accreditation process, and when we have our universities, all the universities being now exposed to this concept of accreditations and being audited by NAAC, that becomes much more important. So in this context, it's really worth understanding the best practices from others, understanding the experience and expertise from experts in the field. I'm really happy that we have two eminent speakers, Dr. Sandeep Shenoy and Dr. Prashant Nair. I hope will benefit a lot by their experience and expertise in this component of quality consciousness programs, with particular reference to quality auditing and report, and will be beneficial to all of us, including our faculty and so on. With these few words, we look forward to have these sessions and learn from this experience of the experts who have agreed to participate in this program. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, sir, for your kind words. Now we request Dr. Vijayan, Associate Professor of School of Pharmacy and an IQAC member, to start the scientific session by introducing the speakers.
Thank you, ma'am. So please share the slide. So once again, welcome to our CAP series. With great privilege, I would like to welcome our honorable speaker of the session, Dr. Sandeep S. Shinai, Director Compliance and Head Department of Commerce, Manipal Academy of Higher Education, Manipal. He has 7 years of industrial experience as well as 22 years in academic and administrative experience. He has published 39 research papers in national and international journals and also published several books of his credit. In 2017, he has received Best Paper Award at the conferences organized at said Business School, University of Oxford, UK. After joining in Manipal, in his first decade of his service, he has functioned in various academic and administrative roles at Manipal Institute of Management. And in 2010, he was offered a leadership role as Head Department of Commerce. At the same time, university recognized his passion for quality and offered him a dual responsibility of leadership role in complaints department. Under his leadership, the Department of Commerce has registered an exponential growth as evident from increased intake, addition of new program at undergraduate and postgraduate level. As a part of quality assurance, he was highly instrumental in facilitating the university in ISO certification in Manipal as well as in Bangalore campus. Under his guidelines, university won several prestigious awards like Ramakrishna Balaji National Quality Award, FICC Award, and Ashosam Award. On his guidelines, Manipal has been aggregated with highest grade of A++ by NAAC. So ladies and gentlemen, please join me welcoming Dr. Sandeep S. Shinai for this great session. Over to you, sir.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks a lot. I'll share my screen now. Can you see the slides?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir, we can see.
Yeah.
Yes.
Is it clear?
Yes, sir, very clear.
So very good afternoon to all the participants of this webinar. We have very thanks to the management, the Chancellor and the Vice Chancellor for giving an opportunity to talk to all of you. And happy to be a part of this forum. And quality is always a learning curve, and we are always looking at going up this curve. And we have a lot of learned people in this forum, and I'm sure it will be a very good experience for all of us. So I have prepared a brief presentation, which will have a flow of initially talking about the rationale and the process of academic and administrative audit. And then I will go to the next part where we say what we are doing in MAHE. So typically sharing our process. Before that, I should appreciate Sri Balaji Vidyapeetham for organizing this series. I'm very impressed with the kind of theme what you have put in, and typically on an international quality day, and you have something called capacity augmentation program. And typically you are talking about quality conscience So everything looks very, very amazing. And I'm happy to see a lot of that being exhibited here through this program. And happy to share with you some of my thoughts through this presentation, and would welcome any questions after that. So I'll begin with my presentation. So typically we are talking about a term called academic audit. So academic audit typically can be understood as a scientific and systematic method of reviewing the quality of academic process in the institution. It is related with quality assurance and enhancing the quality of academic activities in higher educational institutions. This is a very simple definition of what academic audit is all about. The next term which we are using here is administrative audit. It can be defined as a process of evaluating the efficiency and effectiveness of the administrative procedure. It includes assessment of policies, strategies, and functions of various administrative departments, control of the overall administrative system. So as you see, the two terms, academic and administrative audit, will cover the entire set of processes, key processes which are involved in a typical academic institution at higher educational level. So everything is there in terms of academics, in terms of administration, covering all the departments. So this audit should be a very comprehensive one, covering all aspects of a higher educational institution. Why we conduct an academic and administrative audit? The objectives, what are the reasons why we do it? To understand the existing system and assess the strengths and weaknesses. As you see in a typical NAAC self-study report, typically they ask you for SWOT analysis. So here again, we do a evaluation of the strengths and weaknesses of various department and administrative units, and suggest the methods for improvement and for overcoming the weaknesses. So typically one of the objectives is capturing the strengths and weaknesses. The second objective is to identify the bottlenecks in the existing administrative mechanisms and come out with various reforms. Third one is about optimum utilization of financial and other resources. And the fourth one is about suggesting methods for continuous improvement of quality, keeping in mind criteria and reports by NAAC and other accrediting bodies. So typically, if you look at academic and administrative audit, it takes care of the various aspects of administration, academic administration, and also helps the institution in understanding its strengths, weaknesses, and also tries to find solutions to challenges. And financial management is also a part, and financial and human resource management, and ending up with continuous improvement. These are some of the reasons why we should be doing the academic and administrative audit. So what can be an approach towards academic and administrative audit? So it can be done internally through IQAC of the institution and externally through expert peers. So we can have a process where we involve a set of people within the institutions who are trained to do the audit, and then do a cross audit between the various constituent units. And at the end of the year, you can also have an external set of peers who can join the internal team and do an comprehensive audit, which will have an external element attached to it, so that you can get an external opinion about your formats, as well as in terms of how your processes are functioning, or how your processes are mature, and what level improvements you can bring in. The typical methodologies is there is no specific methodology or guidelines for conducting academic and administrative audit. Now, this is the beauty of this entire concept. See, typically we have something prescribed guidelines, prescribed formats, and all those things. But here there is something which there is a lot of freedom left to the higher educational institution to decide what it wants to audit, which process they want to audit, and which are the processes they want to improve, and how they are going to do it. So there is no prescribed kind of methodology or guidelines. It is to the higher educational institution to put in a lot of brainstorming, identify best practices across other institutions, and come out with something which makes a lot of sense for them. So it is expected that each higher educational institution may evolve its own guidelines and methodology by learning from good practices followed by leading institutions within and outside India. So what are the typical criteria for audit? So IQAC of higher educational institutions can decide set of criteria to be used for academic audit. It can be based on what they are targeting at. One is typically NAAC criteria or any other accreditation criteria. So you have NBA for engineering and you have some other such accreditations for other programs, which can also be a part of your criteria for the audit. Then you also can keep some of the parameters which are used in national and international rankings. And also you can put in parameters which will ensure that you meet the regulatory compliance. So here what happens is the higher educational institution decides what are the things which are critical for them to be audited and make sure these are a part of the format or the checklist or the guidelines which will be used by the auditors when they go to the concerned location for auditing. So NAAC or ranking or regulatory compliance can be in the background while deciding what can be the criteria which you use for auditing. So this is something where the higher educational institution has to decide what is very critical for them and accordingly put in place those criteria so that they are regularly audited. The next important part is periodicity. IQAC of higher educational institution has to decide the periodicity. Again, here it is not prescriptive in nature, but the higher educational institution has to decide based on the level of operations, based on the kind of expectations from the management, and decide accordingly what could be a decent periodicity for or a kind of gap between each of these audits. So some of the higher educational institutions undertake academic and administrative audit on an annual basis. Many prefer to do this once in 3 years or 5 years. An internal exercise every year and involvement of external peers once in 3 or 4 years could be a good option. So there are different ways which higher educational institutions plan their academic and administrative audit. So it can be to the management of the institution to decide how much they would like it to be internalized and at what periodicity and how much external intervention is required or involvement and at what periodicity. So it is, you can always have a balance and make sure you make the best of both the competencies of external as well as internal exam. So typically it's up to the management based on their expectations and understanding or their aspirations. It's very, very important that this has to be set according to the aspirations of the management, to the vision of the management, and accordingly decide. So there's no hard and fast rule here, but again, it all depends on my need. Selection of peers, experts. It is important to select good experts as peers for academic administration, but then what is good, what is not so good is not very clearly defined. So it all depends upon how you decide who are the peers, and they should be able to command good respect from faculty, and their credentials should be good, such as academic distinctions, experience as reviewers on NAAC or similar bodies. So involvement in the quality assurance process, involvement with these bodies like NAAC and the regulators would definitely be a value addition in case of selection of peers. So there's no hard and fast rule who can be a peer expert, but the experience, the kind of involvement in a quality assurance process can be guidelines for deciding who can come and do the mock audit as an external auditor. The process of audit, higher educational institutions can devise its own process, including self-evaluation by faculty and administrative units, schedule of on-site visit, format of report and outcome. Many higher educational institutions try to follow NAAC's process and formats with some changes. So there's a lot of autonomy here in terms of deciding how to go about the process. So it can be similar to having a self-study report prepared at each location, and then a set of auditors go and do an on-site visit and with a set of checklists and look at the documentations and the process maturities and decide on the kind of compliance to the NAAC or any other accreditation requirements. what would be an outcome of this academic and where it would be useful. So the outcome of the academic administrative audit may be placed before internal quality assurance cell and governing bodies of the higher educational institutions. And then accordingly, based on what is the kind of outcomes, the plan of action can be prepared to implement the suggestions accepted by the IQAC and the governing bodies. So this is the most important part. Having done the academic audit, having invested so much in this entire exercise, the end outcome should be presented to the management, the governing bodies, and also to the IQACs to make sure the IQACs evaluate the kind of outcomes which has come out of the audit and decide, prioritize, and implement them. So unless these suggestions are implemented, taken to the next level, and then reviewed for effectiveness of implementation, the entire process doesn't make any sense. So it is very important that the outcome of this has to be presented to the management, discussed, and forwarded for further actions, and the action taken to be reviewed again in the next meetings to understand where we are and then process further. So this is very, very important. The outcomes have to be reviewed on a regular basis. So that is just about how the academic audit, administrative audit process is all about. And now I come to the next level of my presentation, where I'll be talking about academic and administrative process, what we follow here at MAHE. So typically, based on our guidance of our Vice Chancellor, we have come up with a plan for having the academic audit process at 3 levels. One is at the department level, second is at the institution level, and third is at the university level. And the periodicity of each of these audit processes is also clearly defined. At the department level, the audits will take place on a quarterly basis. At the institutional level, it is at a biannual basis, twice in a year. And university level, it will be on an annual basis, and where there will be involvement of some external experts and also senior officials of the university. So that is very important, because involving the senior officials of the university and the external experts on at least once in a year, we have found a lot of value in this, because that gives a lot of inputs to the management in terms of what improvements can be brought in, and also give them a kind of ground level view of how the entire institution is functioning. The initial part we talked about academic audit, which is done at 3 levels. Now, in addition to that, we do an administrative audit, which is also linked to our ISO certification, which is again at 2 levels, one at institutional level and then at a university level. So both these are at biannual basis, and these are linked to our ISO certification. So this is how we balance both the academic and the administrative audits. So the institutional level academic audit and the administrative audit, both are biannual. So what we do is the checklist for both is taken by the auditors when they go for the audit, and they audit on the academic as well as the administrative aspects in the locations. I would like to introduce here some things which I feel is very, very important when we evaluate processes. So we followed something called the Malcolm Baldrige framework, where processes are assessed and improved based on following factors. So it is called ADLI, where A is for approach, D is for deployment, L is for learning, and I is for integration. To give an example here, in MAHE, we have introduced EPAD as a tool for conducting the digitalized examinations. So EPAD is used in place of Answer scripts to write the examination. So EPAD, when we say the approach here is for conducting the examination, instead of paper, I'm using EPAD. So the approach is using EPAD. I have deployed this approach in all the institutions. So MAHE has made sure that EPAD examinations are implemented across all its institutions. Third part is learning. So having implemented the EPAD's method of examination using that, what were the problems encountered, how did we learn from those problems, and how did we reorient ourselves. So this is where we have done an exhaustive understanding of what were the challenges, and accordingly given the inputs to the EPAD people who went back and made sure those things were integrated so that the examination becomes seamless. So learning was that part where we did the review of all the challenges and we came back with it. The last part is integration. So made sure that this entire thing is the results of when we are implementing the entire process, the EPADs, it is done across the organization, across all the units, across all the departments, and the learnings, whatever comes out of it, is also implemented across the organization. So for all these processes, whether it is an academic process or whether it's a administrative process, we follow this particular approach, ADLI, where we make sure that all these 4 factors are addressed by the process to understand its maturity. Next aspect which I like to introduce here is the let's see approach, or we call it levels, trends, comparison, and integration. So here, typically, if you look at levels will indicate the kind of statistics which are there for every year. Trends will be like, if you look at the 5-year statistics, you will see the trends. Then we come to the next level, comparison. Comparison can be, one is against your own internal benchmarks or targets. And second is in comparison with your competitors. And last is making sure integration. So whatever results are there coming out, they should be consistent across all the units. So if some of the units are showing skewed results and others are not, then there is some problem in the processes which we may have to intervene and make sure the processes are further fine-tuned. So we may have to see that the results are consistent across all the units. And that's where this let's see approach also helps us in fine-tuning our processes and also making sure our results are in line with the expectations of the accreditators, or in terms of expectations of the ranking, or even the regulatory agencies. So just for your understanding, in terms of the academic audit at the department level, we have a couple of broad areas which are covered in the academic audit. So one is about outcome-based education, where we look at in each department what are the programs and what are the POs and POs defined for these programs, the assessment methods, the monitoring of academic delivery, and how it is being addressed by the department if there are deviations, remedial measures for academically poor students, and whether a handbook is available for with all academic information. So outcome-based education and the academic part is looked into in each department. Student counseling in terms of teacher guardian schemes or allotment of counselors or mentors, that is also looked into, and also the effectiveness of how we handle slow and fast learners. And examination and evaluation in terms of the QPs, the internal assessment marks, how they are documented, how the evaluations happen, are they happening on time, and analysis of results. And research and consultancy in terms of how the committee evaluates the research in the department in terms of quality and quantity scholars to eligible PhD guides, PhD completion times, grants applied and received, analysis of kind of benefits coming out of attending workshops, conferences, consultancy outputs. So these are some of the things which we keep in the checklist of departmental audits, of academic audits. When it comes to the overall institutional audit, which takes place once in 6 months, so we look into the different aspects in terms of curricular aspects, where we look at compliance to requirements of regulatory bodies in terms of intake, duration, eligibility requirements of the programs, the kind of value-added programs offered by the institutions, the open electives, and the kind of internships and other things which are part of the curricular aspects. Infrastructure and resources we look at in terms of compliance to the various regulators. And also academic administration, where we again look at overall how the institution has implemented OB in all its programs. And we also look at POS meetings being done on time or on a regular basis, documentation, involvement of external experts in BOS, whether programs are offered are regularly revised, adherence to the academic calendar, and also whether handbook is available covering all the administrative processes in the and academic processes in the institution. And next one is feedback mechanism on curriculum, faculty, infrastructure. We look at how the institution captures various feedbacks, how it addresses placements, examination, and evaluation. And then we also look at how research, consultant, innovation at overall institutional level, how it is being handled. And typically the IQAC, we have IQACs in each of these constituent institutions. We have a hub and spoke kind of a model where the central IQAC receives inputs from the various IQACs at the constituent unit level. And then we also look at how the institution uses its national and international MOUs effectively, whether they are being used, whether there are dormant MOUs. So that is also being audited. And then during the academic audit, we also make sure the auditors meet students and the leadership and discuss with them the various aspects of academics and administration. And lastly, we also look at what are the best practices which are exhibited at each institutional level, followed at each institutional level, so that can be shared with the other institutions within the organization. Lastly, we have an audit at university level, where again we look at overall broadly the in terms of curricular aspects, we look at effectiveness of OB implementation, evaluation of CBCS across all the programs in the university, regular revision of curriculum, and action taken based on feedback of various stakeholders. In case of examination and evaluation, we look at effectiveness of evaluation in terms of declaring results on time. We also look at analysis of results and effectiveness of action taken and attainment of outcomes, OB outcomes, and action taken. Effectiveness in handling of student grievances related to examination, and analysis of examination related feedback by external examiners or stakeholders. We also have feedback coming from HR, we have feedback, we also have audits of HR, student support, extension activities, admissions, projects, IT, general services, hostels, innovations, and incubators. So a typical comprehensive audit covering all the administrative as well as academic processes of the university, covering the academic aspects as well as the administrative aspect, happens on an annual basis. And we have the option to involve external experts in some of these assessments and get their input so that we can improve our processes better. So audit process we follow is pool of internal auditors are trained, and they audit the concerned level based on prescribed formats and as per the periodicity. Team of internal senior officials and external experts audit at university level as per periodicity. Audit reports are submitted to IQAC and MAHE QA department after the audit. Audit outcomes are discussed at institutional level and at university level. And we have two levels of meeting happening here. We have the IQAC meeting, which takes care of the academic audit part of it. And we have the MRM meetings, which take care of the administrative part and some aspects of academic. So we have two levels of meetings happening on a regular basis. The IQAC meeting is typically as per the guidelines of NAAC, and MRM meetings at least twice in a year. And then whatever actions are to be taken are suggested in these meetings by based on the audit reports. Action taken on previous audit observations are reviewed, and suggested actions that need approval by the highest body of the university, the academic council, or the administrative body of the university, that's the board of management, are presented in those bodies. So this is where we give the inputs to these bodies in terms of what needs to be changed, what can be brought in to make the processes more better, improve their effectiveness. So this is in brief about academic and administrative audit. I end my presentation with a small quote: "Quality is a journey, not a destination." Thank you.
Sir, thank you very much for that wonderful, crystal clear presentation, sir. Thanks a lot. And in fact, we are a little happy that most of the things that you have said, we align with whatever Mahe is practicing. A few questions are there before I ask the questions. I request the audience, if there are any questions from the audience, kindly share it.
Good afternoon. Can I ask a question?
So Philip, sir, can you please switch on your video?
Okay, fine.
Yeah.
Yes,
sir, please.
Yeah, good afternoon. Now, the thing is, with the globalization of education currently coming into picture, especially in a country like ours, where do you think these audits are going to help us or lead our way? In what way do you think these audits will make a difference?
Thank you, Dr. Joseph. A very pertinent question, very rightly put in. We, as you know, that we are now aligning many things in terms of the national education policy. And one of the aspirations of the policy is that India should be a global Vishwa Guru in terms of education. And the aspiration is to set standards in terms of making the education system best in the world. So keeping that in mind, as I mentioned, the two approaches, the ADLI and the Let's See. So we have to make sure that whatever we do in terms of academics are at par with the best institutions across the globe. It's not just in India we are talking about here. We're also looking at global best practices. As you can see, the benefits of NBA accreditation helps the concerned engineering student when they go for studies abroad or for jobs abroad. Same way, if we have a very strong audit system, which makes sure that our academic and administrative practices are on par with global standards, then definitely it will create a lot of benefits to all the stakeholders, not only the students, even for faculties or even for the administrators as
well. Can I ask one more?
Yes,
Am I allowed?
Please go ahead, sir.
Okay. Now, the thing is, now currently, it is more of a competency-based education, which the NMC is talking about. Whereas our whole system was tuned into outcome-based sort of system. Now, how do you incorporate both this competency-based as well as outcome-based system together to progress in a harmonized way?
See, basically, if you look at competency-based medical education or the system brought in by the Medical Council of India, this is typically to align with the global requirement of accreditation, because as you know that in a year or two, there will be a lot of restrictions on Indian medical graduates going to foreign universities, especially in US, and their progression may get affected. So keeping that in mind, we need to make sure that, as I mentioned in my presentation, an audit system can have to meet the expectations of various stakeholders. It can be the accreditation agency, it can be the ranking agency, or it can be the regulators. So if we have to comply and make sure that our medical graduates do not get affected, we need to make sure that competency-based medical education implementation is properly implemented, and the implementation effectiveness is assessed through these audits. Now, for the other courses which which are general in nature or which do not have this CBME or competency-based, where outcome-based education is being followed, you can follow the guidelines which are prescribed for that particular program. So your checklist will definitely look at the regulatory requirements in terms of what kind of system is required for that particular program. And accordingly, you may have to audit that particular program to meet that requirement.
Thank you very much, sir. So all in all, whatever system is there, the way it is delivered has to be the effectiveness of it should be assessed periodically so that we deliver it effectively. That's what I get from
I'll give you one more. I'll give you one more example. See, basically, there are challenges. I understand the CB competency-based system has a lot of challenges in terms of so many competencies being tracked and marked, and it's very deep. But then we have technology, we have several enablers, which we may have to bring as process improvements and try to make sure that what we are doing is effective. End of the day, the outcome, the kind of opportunities which it brings for our graduates, that is very, very important.
Thank you very much, sir. Any more questions from the audience? Sir, I have a few questions for you. Number one is there any official training for AAA or the ISO training that we give for the internal auditors should be enough for the AAA auditing process?
No, I would suggest you have a separate training for the academic audit. The ISO training can always be used for the administrative part. But for the academic audit to look into the finer aspects of academics and the expectations nationally as well as globally, it is better to give a kind of focused training to the auditors to make them understand what they need to look into while they go to the particular location. That's why we have two different formats for the same thing. We have academic audit a separate format and ISO audit a separate format. So academic audit formats will focus more on academic aspects and understanding it, the system more thoroughly. Administrative audits will look at not cover the academic part, more of the effectiveness of the administrative procedures.
Yeah, actually,
So I suggest two different trainings.
Yes. So that actually solves the problem for us because ISO also asks us at least biannual auditing and training. So this is now embedded into the academic administrative process. That's an excellent solution you have given. Thank you very much, sir. So one more question is that in our NAAC experience, they expected us to have a certification from an external certifying body, which means we had to call the external members who are there in their panel. And but we did have our own system. So the external agency actually followed the system or the checklist that we have, the specifications that we give them, and we also had our internal auditors. The NAAC process told us that we have to mandatorily keep that certificate. Is that actually a requirement every year? So should we have to go through the external organizations?
As I see in the procedure, it doesn't mention that you need to go through an external organization. It's more they ask whether you would conduct academic and administrative audit and do you have a process for it and how frequently you do it and what are the outcomes which comes and how it is discussed, deliberated and implemented. Action taken report reported in an AQAR. So ultimately, whether you have an external agency certifying you through that or that they have conducted an audit is not clearly
not
there
mandatory.
in the.
Yes.
Yeah, it's not mandatory as
Okay. Thank you very
as
much.
I understand.
Yeah. So is there? Yes.
Yeah, one.
Sir. Before sir comes.
One
Yeah.
of the important things, resources, is the human resource. Now, from the bottom level to the top, how do you ensure that all are working in unison or to achieve the outcome or the goal? What are the things you take care of in human resource management?
Very good question, sir. Very intelligent question. See, what we do is we have each department goals and each faculty in each department. See, we have a strategic plan which has various goals which the university is pursuing as a part of its institution of eminence. So these goals are split into institutional level goals, and then institutional level goals are split into department level goals. So each department, when we go for auditing, we look at what are their kind of objectives of the department in terms of what are their aspirations, what kind of goals they have set. And then we look at when we audit individual faculties, we look at the awareness of these faculties in terms of what are the expectations from their department and do they understand that very well. And then we look at the next level, have they understood the expectations of the institution where they are working in. And lastly, thirdly, we also look at, are they aligned with the expectations of the university? So the audit process helps us to also understand whether our employees are aligned with the university or not. So auditor can always come up with a suggestion that there is some disalignment, and we can definitely do a awareness program or a kind of sensitization programs to make sure that is taken care of.
Thank you, sir. Sir, one question is on the duration. How long do you usually conduct these audits? Like, we do have these quarterly audits. We have 76 academic departments. So it takes around 3 to 4 days for us to finish the departmental audit every quarter. So if it's an institutional audit, we have around 7 institutes. So how long does it take for the audits to be over?
No, it's typically the same kind of duration what you're talking about. Only thing is probably you may have to prioritize certain things. So based on your own areas which you have identified as weaknesses. So you may have identified, and then make sure those are audited in detail. See, you need not audit your strength in too much, invest a lot of your time on your strengths, but you can invest a lot of time on your weaknesses and the challenges. And also look at whether we have taken care of some of the opportunities which we have identified. So end of the day, the auditor has to spend his time judiciously so that we do not waste much of the time on looking at what we have rather than understanding what we don't have.
Sure. Thank you, sir. Any more questions from audience? So one last question from my side again. So many of these rankings and ratings process include the satisfaction survey of the students, stakeholders, faculty, etc. Can we bring this as a part of our audit? Like you said that we have to have a direct interaction with students and faculty. Instead, can we take it as a survey, sir? Because like recently,
I think it's a beautiful idea because that will sensitize them in terms of how they have to respond to those surveys, and will also give you a feeling that how the students understand these surveys and respond to them. Because many times they may not understand the question, respond to it wrongly. So when you get a survey done like this dummy on a regular basis, once at least when the end of the 5 years when NAAC does a survey for that, will definitely find the students responding much better than what they should be. So typically, it's good to have such a survey. It will give a lot of inputs to you as well.
Thank you. Thank you very much, sir. If there are no more questions, any questions? If there are no more questions, thank you very much, sir. And if you had been here in our university, it would have been a big applause. We can say a big vanakkam to you. Thanks a lot for sensitizing us.
Thank you. Thank you.
So we request you to stay back for Dr. Prashant's lectures.
Yes, sure.
Over to Dr. Vijayan to introduce Dr. Prashant, please.
Thank you, ma'am. It's my honor to introduce our next speaker, Dr. Prashant R. Nair. He is working as a vice chairman, AQAC of Amrita Vishwa Vidyapeetham, deemed to be University Coimbatore, since 2009. He has over 22 years in teaching, research, monitoring, training, consultancy, and academic and administrative experience. He taught numerous academic programs in USA and Europe. He had published more than 6 books, over 50 publications in reputed national and international journals. Under his mentorship, student team won premier international and national competitions like Smart India Hackathon, Rajasthan Hackathon, TCS Digital Twin Challenge, represent India as a part of National Hackathon team for Singapore India Hackathon. and facilitated by Honorable Prime Minister of India, Sri Narendra Modi. He also been ranked as top innovator mentor in India by Atal Innovation Mission. He has coordinated 3 cycles of NAAC, NBA accreditation, and NIRF ranking, and also served as UCG nodal officer for the university. With all due respect, I would like to invite our speaker, Dr. Prasant R. Nair, for this session. Over to you, sir.
Yeah, thank you. Respected Vice Chancellor, Dr. Usha, Dr. Sandeep Shenai, my fellow speaker, various participants of this event. Very good afternoon to all of you. Let me just start my slides. Are you able to see my slides? Is my slide visible?
Yes, it is, sir. Yes.
Can't hear you.
Yes, yes, it is visible.
Okay, fine. Okay. So I have been given this agenda of talking about online, the importance of the online annual quality assurance report for the purpose of NAAC. What I will do is I will just try to connect this to just give you a kind of a refresher on what are the objectives of the internal quality assurance cell and why the collection of data evidences by the internal quality assurance cell at a department level, at an institutional level, at a university level has to be streamlined and has to be dovetailed so that you are able to face the NAAC accreditation. Now, all of us know that NAAC accreditation happens once in 5 years. Of course, if you have got a A++ grade, you have an accreditation for 7 years. And of course, certain things may change because the national education policy is talking of modifications in this respect. The national education policy is talking of having an overarching accreditation body. I think tentatively it is called NAAC, National Accreditation Council. And all the existing accreditation agencies like NAAC, which does the institutional accreditation, and the NBA, which does the program accreditation, especially of engineering, pharmacy, management programs, will be subsumed under this NAAC. Similarly, the Medical Council of India does not have a separate accreditation, but more or less their approval process is akin to a kind of a, once they approve a medical institution, an annual inspections are basically more or less like a accreditation process. So it is also envisaged that that aspect will also come under the NAAC. So why I'm saying this is that the online AQAR is a very important pointer, because when you are working on an annual AQAR, you are building a system process so that you are able to collect the data, collate the data, consolidate the data, curate and clean up the data, and of course store and submit the data. So that process will get into action when our energies are moved towards the AQAR. Interestingly, from the last year onwards, the AQAR there is a change in the system that NAAC has now envisaged. Earlier, what you used to do is you are only submitting a data point to the NAAC as part of the AQAR. There is no evidences. Now the NAAC portal is asking you to give some sample evidences also, and the AQAR filling requires you to also upload some sample evidences into the portal. Only then it is able to accept the AQAR. Now at present, perhaps most colleges and universities are not completely putting all their evidences. But over a period of time, at least this is a good process, because ultimately speaking, the AQAR of 5 years. See, when you are doing your AQAR for this academic year, you are collecting all the data and the evidences or the supporting documents. you are collecting it, collating it, consolidating it, you are curating it in the sense that cleaning it up. And when that process is, the ball is set rolling, you are actually you're having everything in terms of the evidences and the data in your fingertips. And ultimately the NAAC self-study report or the SSR of the NAAC is nothing but the AQAR into 5 years of AQAR data and evidences is the SSR. Yes, there is some small subtle, what should I say, small changes are there in the SSR format and the AQAR format. I think over a period of time it's almost, but if you ask me, that is barely 5% differences are there. So it brings you in a system where you are actually getting into a process and a system where you are able to, you are getting all these things ready. Now, I will first, talk to you about AQAR and connecting it to the IQAC, and then I will talk about our Amrita University's documentation good practices that will help in the AQAR, and of course, ultimately the SSR or the self-study report. Is the slide moving, ma'am? Is the slide moving? You're not audible.
Dr.
Yes,
Prashant.
sir.
Yes, yeah.
Okay. So, as mentioned, I have completed 3 cycles of NAAC accreditation, also 2 cycles of NBA accreditation. And last cycle, we got the A++ grade with the CGPA of 3.7. At that point of time, we had the highest score among all private and deemed universities. Of course, this last year, some universities have got a better score than us. NBA also, we have completed the 2 cycles in terms of the Coimbatore campus, which all our eligible undergraduate engineering programs are accredited by NBA. There are a few new programs which commenced last year or the year before, which are not eligible. Other campuses also, we are moving very aggressively towards NBA accreditation. Bangalore campus has completed 2 out of the 5 UG programs. Amritapuri campus in Kerala, by the end of this year, we are maybe early next year, we are hoping to complete that process also. Now, in terms of the importance of the AQAR, and of course, when you are submitting the AQAR, I've already told you, you are now supposed to submit the data and the evidences. See, if you ask me, the next slide is probably my very common slide. Hundreds of presentations I've given. This slide is extremely important from every perspective. The AQAR data collection puts you into a trajectory where you are able to completely have a system and process so as to completely collect, collate, curate, consolidate your data and evidences. I cannot but more stress upon the need for maintaining proper data points and proper documentation. And I'm using a statistician's quote, which I have modified in my own way, that, in God we trust, but for everything else we need data. And that is the statistician quote, in God we trust, but for everything else we need data. I have added my own take to it, and that data needs to have proper evidences. I cannot but stress upon the need for having a system process for maintaining the documents. Anything and everything you do, whether it is academics, whether it is research, innovation, extension, outreach activities, whether it is even hostel activities, student engagement, student life, cultural activities, societal activities, community development activities, sports, doesn't matter. Anything and everything, you need to have a system of maintaining the proper data and evidences. I will come to that. How every department in the university has been given a mandate, a charter on these are the documents that you have, and files and the supporting documents, the data points, and this encompasses all the accreditations, and not only the accreditations, but also it covers the NBA and NAAC. It covers to a large extent the NIRF, the national ranking data points, the international ranking data points, and also is covered or subsumed into this list. Of course, there are slight modifications when you go across department. For example, in medical school, there is an additional list which is prescribed by the National Medical Commission. Nursing Council has their own separate set of documents. So those things are added on to this master list. So there is a system that has been developed in every department. Now, annually, we are not in a position to have very frequent audits, but we are doing it at an annual level. It is being done in terms of, as part of the administrative audit, there is this kind of document verification at all departments and non-academic departments. When I say non-department, that is the administrative audit, the HR, the finance, the corporate and industry relations, the sports and physical education, the students' welfare, all those documents are also being monitored. Maybe I'll go into that first itself, then go back to this. So, oh my God, sorry, just hold on. Oh, wait, went off. The current is off. Are you able to see the screen? Is the screen visible?
Yes, yes.
Yeah, so this is the best practice that we have put. So this is see, we would have close to 150 plus departments would be there across the university in multiple 7 campuses of the university. Whether it is an Ayurveda department, whether it is an anatomy department, whether it is a computer science department, whether it is a journalism department, this is the master list that has been maintained. So there is this documentation to be made, documents, files, supporting documents, data points that have to be maintained at a department or a center level. It doesn't matter which school or which campus you are in, this is the master list. Now, this subsumes the NAAC requirements, it subsumes the NIRF requirements, subsumes the NBA requirements also. And if you are a medical institution, if you are a dental institution, the relevant documents that are concerned with the statutory body are added on to this. So this is a process that has been going on for more than 6 to 7 years. From the second cycle of NAAC accreditation, we have been doing this. Now, maybe 100% compliance may or may not be there across all the 150 plus departments, but more or less most of the departments are doing this. They are having their own internal audits once in their semester. In a semester, they do their own departmental audit where the in charges look at that, the chairperson or the vice chairman internally looks at all these things and verifies. Now, at the IQAC level, each campus IQAC, I look after the university level IQAC, but the campus level IQAC ensures that there is an administrative audit. Rather, we call it more like a documentation audit, which is part of the administrative audit, where each and every department, whether it is academic or non-academic, goes through a kind of a review. Many cases, sometimes we have brought external experts also, sometimes we have not, sometimes it has been done internally, but that happens meticulously once in a year. And a clear audit report is sent to me, and then that is certified, and I send it back to the principal or the dean of the school and the relevant HOD of the department. So this process has been set in motion, and as a result of this, what is happening is that, you know, multiple requirements are there. Unfortunately, you know, we have so many statutory bodies, regulatory agencies. We have ACT requirements, we have UGC requirements. Now, just like Manipal, we also have an institution of eminence. We have been awarded that. So that brings another set of complications. But then, because of this universal documentation system, universal system is there in all the departments. I mean, the data and the evidences are available at the fingertips. I have done one more thing as a best practice in the university is that what I have done is, you know, in terms of the data points, there is a format that is given to every academic department, not administrative department. This format also kind of encompasses the all the requirements of the all statutory and regulatory and accreditation agencies. So the monthly format, the data alone is filled by the respective HOD and sent to the head of the school as well as to the IQAC at the campus level. Evidences are kept in the department, in the files. Internally, once in a semester, the departments do their internal audit, but at the annual level, the IQAC, the campus of the university IQAC does an annual audit of the documents and the data. And obviously we have the data, so we are able to kind of cross verify the evidence. So in terms of, suppose if you say that a department has got 7 awards for the students, we have the list and we can always cross verify where are these awards and so on. We are able to give an audit report, and of course that is part of the academic and administrative audit. So now coming back to the AQAR. So this is what I've been telling you. Mandatory requirement of the AQAR. Now the AQAR needs data and evidences. Both are needed. So there is a system for mandatory maintenance of data and records at a university level, at a campus level, at an institution or a college level, and at a department level. There is a 4-level tier, and there is an identification. There is a list or a list at the university level, campus level, school level, and the department level. This process is in place for the more than 7 years now. This process has been in vogue. Now coming to the AQAR is very important. Now I just want to spend little time on the IQAC. Now, of course, this event is also organized by the IQAC. IQAC is a very, very important appendage of any institution. The reason is you have already secured an accreditation. You might have got some benchmark in terms of rankings. You might have got some NIRF rank. You might have got some NBA accreditation, NAAC accreditation. Now, it is very important that the IQAC takes the ownership of this process and ensures that we focus towards quality, maintenance, and or sustenance, and also quality improvements. So any institution, once you have got accredited, you have to focus on 2 levels. One is sustaining the quality, maintaining the quality. The second level is enhancing the quality, improving the quality. Right? Now, the AQAR is a very important aspect of the first part, or the sustaining the quality. Because you are having a system to collect, collate, curate, consolidate the complete data and evidences of every department, academic or non-academic. Now, these are the things that that funnel into the AQAR. Maybe not only AQAR, you have an AACT visit or a UGC visit. It doesn't matter if you are going for an NARF ranking, you're going for some sort of international collaboration. So that that quality sustenance, maintaining the quality, it squarely lies on how good you are able to collect the data for the AQAR. The AQAR is a very good tool so for you to explore how to go for this quality sustenance. Now that is not enough. You also need to go up. You have got an NARF ranking, you have got an A++ grade or A+ grade or A grade, whatever it is. You definitely need to go up the ecosystem. So you need to also focus on the quality enhancement activity. If you ask me, I would think a very good practice is going for the Pareto principle. I don't know if you know, any of you know, an economist will know what a Pareto principle is. Pareto principle is also loosely referred to as 80-20 rule. It comes from Malthusian economics that 80% of the wealth is concentrated in 20% of the population. Similarly, for an IQAC, I would think that 80% of your activities, which includes the AQAR, and where the complete documentation, data collection, documentation, filing, supporting evidences should be around 80%. 20% you must definitely focus on moving up the ladder, climbing up the ladder to go to the next level. Of course, that also requires you to have documentation, no doubt. You require to have strategies and policies and initiatives that take you to the next level, take you to the next bracket. So it should be the IQAC that drives this system. IQAC should be driving the system not only for quality enhancement in maintenance or sustenance and also quality enhancement. Now, if you see the objective of the IQAC, it is to develop a conscious, this is as per NAAC, you know, to develop a conscious, consistent and catalytic improvement in all overall performance. And this performance is multi-dimensional: academics, research, innovation, extension activities, student life, sports, it doesn't matter. And also how to institutionalize and internalize, champion the various initiatives. So this should be the goal of the IQAC. And of course, so many activities are there in terms of the IQAC. If you take the, in terms of the major focus areas of the IQAC, now I already told you 2 buckets: quality, sustenance. Can you please mute?
Sorry, sir, we are muting everyone. Sorry.
So as I already told you, the one bucket is quality sustenance, maintaining the quality. The other bucket is enhancing the quality. 80% of your activity should be focused on the first part, that is sustaining the quality, that bucket. 20% of your activities should be focused on enhancing the quality or improvement. Now, these focus areas will fall under both buckets. What I'm trying to say, building a quality culture. Some activities are at the end sustaining the quality, some are enhancing the quality. So these 3 focus areas will fall into both the buckets. Now, if you see what the IQAC, what should be the major focus areas, and building a quality culture in the institution. See, we know about quality by compliance and quality by design. Almost 99.9% of all of us, almost 99.9% of all of us are, you know, kind of doing quality by compliance. We are required to go for some accreditation. We are required to go for some ranking. We are going for that. For that, we are kind of moving from pillar to post to, you know, get those things done. That is the quality by compliance, because we have to comply to certain guidelines. But ideally, should it not be that, you know, there should be quality by design, where, you know, the system, internal system is ingrained with the wisdom, with the focus on quality. So building a quality culture is a very important aspect of an IQAC. And here, you know, some of the activities to build a quality culture fall under the bucket of sustaining the quality. Some fall under the enhancing the quality. So in terms of the quality culture, some of the activities are having the IQAC at the college level, as well as a department level or a university level, orientation, training, guidances, championing, generating, developing, disseminating best practices in the institution, having a feedback loop where you're getting the feedback not only on the curriculum. Curriculum feedback is one aspect. Having a system for feedback from all the stakeholders. I'll give you an example. Student life in the campus is very important. How is your security behaving with the students? What is the facility in the canteen, in the mess, the security, the sports facility? All those things, you know, you need to, the IQAC should build this system, and they are also required in the SSR or the SS. Remember, when you are working for a AQAR, you please understand very simple logic. 5 AQARs with data and evidence is equal to the SSR for NAAC. Very simple logic that way. So quality culture is one focus area. Second is the, you know, identification and communication of the key benchmarks and metrics for the institution. Here, this is also veering towards both quality sustenance and enhancement. You have benchmarks, you have metrics, you have rubrics. This is where I stand. This is what I want to do in the next 3 years. This is what I want to do in the next 5 years. This is what I want to achieve in the next 7 years. This kind of benchmarks are there. And as also for that, maintaining the benchmarks, you have a systemic data collection and documentation. System is there. Now, The answer is nothing but the AQAR. The AQAR will collect almost everything that is required for that purpose. And 5 years of AQAR, you get the SSR. And finally, analysis and reporting. You are able to do a gap analysis. Where do you stand? This is my benchmark. This is where I want to be. This is what I have attained. What is the difference? What is the gap between the expected performance and the actual performance? And you are able to disseminate this to all the stakeholders, internal stakeholders, which is your management, your administration, as well as the external stakeholders, which are the statutory agencies and the regulatory agencies. So you will find out that, working on the AQAR will has an underlying focus on all these, all the 3 focus areas. So this is what I wanted to basically cover in terms of the thing. I'll be happy to answer questions. Thank you very much. Happy to answer any number of questions. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Prashant. Excellent that you shared the best practices of your university. Excellent. Over to the audience if there are any questions. Philip, sir.
He is muted.
Unmute. We have unmuted all, sir.
Already in the file,
Kindly mute yourself if you're not asking questions. Sir, you can start, sir.
Okay, thank you for a wonderful lecture. Now, basically, this internal quality assurance, whatever they do, is it objectivized or is it more of a sort of, subjective assessment? And can there be a difference between IQAC, internal quality assurance, and the expert or the external group?
See, I'll first answer the second question. You're talking of the internal processes and the external processes. Oh my God, somebody is
okay.
Kindly mute yourself, please. You can mute all again and.
Yeah, I can unmute them.
Sorry
Yeah,
about
it's okay. It's okay. So, see, basically, if you ask me in terms of you're talking of the IQAC and the external part, right? In terms of whether it is for both internal audit or AAA, that is academic administration. See, it all depends. I have a feeling, ideally, it's always nice to have external folks get a review of what you are doing, but there are limitations when it comes to oh my God.
Both way we are.
There are a lot of limitations when it comes to many of the, especially the private colleges and universities, because whenever you employ a external expert, whether it is for an IQAC.
Yes, so actually what I'm asking, did you want a hostel or what?
Somebody who's speaking during this session, can you please mute yourself? Karna Bhupati, sir, can you please mute yourself? I'm very sorry about this. You just mute all. Just mute.
Yeah, I'm also muted. Yeah. So
yes, please.
Yeah. See, it all depends upon the the requirement, in the sense that whenever you are employing an external person to whether it is for a board of studies or an IQAC audit or an academic or administrative audit, obviously there is a cost associated with it. So ideally, we would like to have an external expert do, but it is not very practical. So what we have been doing is that, we are a distributed university with 7 campuses in 4 different states of South India. We are now starting a new campus in Delhi, near Delhi. So what we are now doing is, it's not always practical, it's such a huge university. So what we are now doing is we do a kind of an inter-campus, what should I say? Teams are moving around. See, for example, somebody in Bangalore campus can come to Coimbatore and do an audit. So that is something that we are doing. Having said that, whenever we are having a major kind of AAA audit, so these things are happening internally between campuses and between departments as of now. But as of now, once in 2 or 3 years, we are definitely doing a major comprehensive audit where completely the team is audit. So it's both needed, if you ask me. Now, the ideally, I would have wanted to do an external AAA every year, but I am constrained by budgets, and every institution has that issue, in constrained by budgets and so on and so forth. So that is the kind of the answer. But I totally agree with you that it's always better to get new perspectives, fresh perspectives, and somebody gives us a lot of good inputs and so on. Now, in terms of objective and subjective, see, I think I think the IQAC has to be very objective. That is my personal opinion. That the IQAC has to be completely, extremely objective in terms of the because you are honestly tweaking, working with the data and evidences. And any data requires proper validation in terms of evidences and so on. So the IQAC's role has to be totally objective. But having said that, maybe the management may not be that objective, they may be subjective. That's my take personally. That's what I feel, sir.
But the parameters, are they objectivized so that either you do or I do the thing, are we going to get the same outcome? Are the parameters sort of objectivized in the quality assurance?
See, over a period of time, whether it is NARF or NAAC or NBA, this is my personal opinion, but based on working on this for 14 years. Every year we are seeing that they are becoming better and better, refined and refined, becoming more or less common. So earlier they would complain, I am a medical college, this is Greek and Latin to me. I am an Ayurveda college, I don't understand what this is, totally different from my style of life. But over a period of time, that refinement has come. Most of the parameters are very clear, very clear, very well defined, very clear evidences to kind of justify that validation process also over a period of time has become much better. Now, I am not saying it is perfect, but it is definitely improved. And if you ask me, I am going to a medical college to do an audit. I mean, I don't know medical what it is, but I have a good idea what it is, because the system is like that. The validation, the documents are all pretty clear today, and it's becoming better and better. It's not perfect, but it is definitely on that.
So I have a question on this. The AQAR itself, it's related to Dr. Philip's question.
Yeah.
AQAR itself, just like an SSR, has got a qualitative metrics and a quantitative metrics. So can we be completely objective when we take the data? For example, when I talk about objectivity, I say number, the data. That's what you spoke about, number of research projects, amount generated, that kind of a thing. But without that subjective evaluation, is an audit complete?
See, madam, now, see, I agree with you about this fact that, the subjectivity is there. But then can I also pose another thing? When you are looking at a NAAC visit, right, even though you are giving some qualitative answers, let us give an example. You are talking about the implementation of LOCF, what is Learning Outcomes Curricular Framework. Ultimately, that is a qualitative question where the NAAC peer team comes to your institution. But at the end of the day, what is that NAAC peer team doing? The NAAC peer team is validating what you have claimed subjectively in that thing. What will he ask for when he comes to a department? Okay, you are claiming that you are doing OBE, outcome-based education. Show me the attainment calculations for this batch. Then they'll say, oh, I'm sorry, we only started 1 year back. So ultimately, even that validation rests on documents, data, evidences, supporting documents. So there is that level of this thing. And for everything, there is a kind of any qualitative question. Ultimately, you have to show numbers and documents that justify. Let us take another example. Do you have an ecosystem for innovation and entrepreneurship? I know that you have already given me marks for patents. I know that. Already the DVV has given you marks for patents and for research papers. Already it has been given. But ultimately, The question from the qualitative angle is, do you have an ecosystem for innovation? Now, obviously, I am having this, I am having that, that is not going to help you. Okay, where is your patent cell? What is the system? Show me the document of patent application. Okay, which department are you from? Oh, I am from maths department. I am from chemical engineering department. Okay, have you applied for a patent? Yes. What is the process? See, ultimately, it is the validation requires hard facts, hard data, and that data needs to be supported by evidence. So I think it is moving towards an objective system. Having said that, it's not perfect. And, sometimes, they say match fixing, right? There are some parameters, unfortunately, you can't do anything, they are not suited for you. But then, we can only petition, we can talk to them, we can request them. And every year, even my experience with NARF is that they are extremely accepting of suggestions. We have told that this is not tailored for us, but they are very acceptable. Maybe not immediately, but over a period of time, those things are happening.
Thank you, Dr. Prashant. Now, the AAA and the online AQAR is connected, right? So the process of AAA is something which ends up in the formation or collation, curation of the data, documentary evidence. And the reason for the NAAC going online, NAAC has gone online now. Now, what we are following is we are shifting from hard copy documentation to completely soft copy documentation to match the online AQAR so that it's easy for us to give the data. Are we in the right track? Is there anything wrong with that?
Well, I will tell you what happened before this system came. So I cannot check the veracity, but I have heard rumors of rumors. I cannot validate or confirm or deny, but I have heard rumors that peer teams have been influenced. Ultimately, the earlier system of NAAC was very subjective. You claim what you have in an SSR. SSR is a self-study report. And whatever you claim in the SSR self-study report is validated by a peer team that comes. So it is 100% evaluation depending upon the whims and the pleasure of the peer team. Now, I have heard rumors that that they have been unduly influenced. I do not know. That is the reason perhaps that NAAC has moved to this objective evaluation. Now, this objective evaluation is very clear. I think it has brought transparency, albeit it has cost much more. The work has increased many times over, but it has brought in transparency. And as I understand, again, I am not part of that DVV and all, but I understand it is a mix of objective and subjective. There is somebody verifying physically, and there are some computer-based models also. I really don't know. This is what I have heard. So I think it has brought a transparency. But then one more good thing about the process is that we were printing thousands and thousands of them. Now many things you need not print. You can maintain them in soft copy. So I don't know, why should we cut down trees? It brings more transparency. It reduces the need for printing so many things. You can maintain it soft or online. Today, I don't have I have not printed a single photo in the last 7 to 10 years. Anything you need, you just go to my LinkedIn page or my Facebook page. Every photo is available. Maybe, people may also argue it is a self-promotion, but that's fine. But it's there. I mean, everything is available, right? So I think it's a good thing. According to me, it's a good thing. But then one issue that some people faced was that this online system came in 2017, late 2017, this new system came. But then some of us were supposed to go for accreditation in 2019. So what about the 2 years that came before this? So that was a big challenge for many universities, not only Amrita, all the top universities were struggling for those 2-3 years of data and evidence. We had to create in the sense that, yes, there was a NSS unit has gone to the village, but they have not taken a geotagged photo. It is there in some student's phone. Now we have to get that back and retrieve it and create. That was the challenge that happened. Now I think that is sorted out.
Yeah. Now I think they're going to completely depend on the online AQAR submission for the SSR. We
yes.
have been scared, we have been petrified that even if there are minute changes that we missed out some data, we won't be allowed to put it in the SSR. Is that true?
As I understand, I do not know, but I feel that over a period of time, they are going to stop this SSR.
Oh,
It's going
okay.
to be completely based on the AQAR. Maybe today the software does not collate and consolidate today, as of now. But that's not a big problem. To be very honest with you, you have the data and the evidences. Now, being able to collate is another software can be created. I tell my faculty, no, this is a one-off. This is a one-off. Every year you are collecting this. Now next year, after 5 years, I am there. I don't know if I am there. I am not there. If you are there, we don't know. But the system is there. Whoever is doing that at that point of time, everything is available. It's a one-off. So when you are doing the AQAR also, you do it properly. You collect everything from an institutional perspective. The data is there. The evidences are there. People don't matter. The process is there. That's the moral of the story.
That's an excellent point to conclude.
No, one question before you
Yes.
conclude.
Yes, sir.
It's to both the speakers. Now, one of the things, especially the higher educational institutions are concerned, is the end product or the graduates who come out of the portals of the institution. Now, how do you assess the sort of success of your program by looking at the graduates who have come out? What are the parameters do you assess to look into this?
For engineering, sir, it is very clearly defined in the outcome-based education process. And there are multiple, it's not a single metric, but in terms of placements, higher studies and entrepreneurship. So obviously, it's not only the percentage of placement, but also other parameters concerned with the placements, multi-dimensional in the sense that what is the average CTC, cost to the company, how many job offers people have got, how many MNCs have come, how many, we call it dream jobs, super dream jobs. These are meaning that they are very high value companies. So
that is basically engineering and this thing is concerned.
Yeah.
What about the field of medicine? How do you assess them?
So, well, to be very honest, I've had a lot of discussion with our medical director about all these things. Well, there are programs, what is it? NBE programs, National Board of Examinations program. When you are taking higher studies in terms of how many fellowships, how many MD, MS, how many NBE, that is, what is that, national?
DNB.
Yeah. So in terms of higher studies, that is a kind of a parameter. In terms of salary, it's a problem. I don't deny that. There's a problem. But then if a doctor is starting his own practice, I'm just telling you, he's taking a clinic and starting his own practice. See, ultimately, he is also earning some money, right? So you have to probably reckon that way. That is what we have reckoned, that somebody is starting his own practice. He's in a doctor. I mean, he's making some money out of the practice. That is very simply, that is like you have to equate that to higher salary.
But you cannot equate that because the salaries are not equal. Academic institutions' salary will be less, private practice it will be more. But as a achievement academically, how do you assess your graduate, especially in the field of medicine? The salary is not that kind of an important thing because we are not even.
So if I may add to that, from whatever knowledge I've had with NAAC as well as NARF and with other rating processes, employability is one thing they're asking for graduate outcome. And as Dr. Prashant said, how many of them have taken higher education and how many of them have cleared these kind of exams to go for higher education abroad? So these are the questions that they're asking. Yes, of course, NARF is asking for the median salary of your graduates.
Yeah.
So that is always there, sir. So, but NAAC is focusing completely on the employability and higher education.
So, see, but one good thing about the medical is that the numbers are not so huge. See, if you take engineering, every year we may have 1,400 graduates. Getting data from each of them is not so easy. But medical is not so much of a challenge because there are 100, maybe 100 or 120 or 150. It is always possible to get the data from them, and from there only we have to make some assumptions. Let's be very honest about it. Some assumptions that somebody started his own clinic, find out what is an approximate. We can only do that kind of approximations moving forward.
Any university you know of who are doing this?
I think for NARF, this is what all
This is what's
universities.
expected in NARF.
Yeah, all are doing the same thing, because we have a network of good, especially the IQAC heads of many top universities. There is a network. Network means informal, not a formal network. I think we should formalize that eventually. But that network, we exchange notes, and we ask questions to each other. Certain things we have to the fine print you will not be able to understand. So we have to make some approximations here and there and stuff like that.
That
I'll give you
gives
another
a good
example.
credence to the university and the institution. So that should become a parameter in the assessment of the university or the institution.
Yeah, now they are very much focusing on the, especially for NARF, the perception. The perception is a very important parameter. So NARF, what once they did is that, I'm sorry, I'm deviating because I'm answering this question. Initially, they had a kind of a perception which was based on some mass, what should I say, mass responses from people. And obviously, some people have manipulated and done some kind of hanky-panky. Now they are very clear. They ask you for your employers, they ask you for your contacts. They directly talk to them. We don't know who it is, and so they have made it now very untransparent, totally opaque. So that is why. So we do not know who are the people they talk to in terms of the perception. So it's over a period of time that will happen.
Thank you. I think Dr. Prashant has a lecture again in another 20
No, that
minutes.
is at 4 o'clock. No problem. I'm happy to.
Thank you very much, Dr. Prashant. It was excellent. And again, you please take our virtual applause from our side and a big vanakkam from our side.
Sure.
Excellently delivered. And I learned a lot from you. And we hope to collaborate with both your universities, Amrita as well as Mahe, to take ourselves forward and also reach the excellence that we are targeting for. Thank you very much. And thanks to all the audience who are here, who have stayed with us for 1.5 hours. There's a feedback link which has been given. Please fill the feedback, and based on that, participation certificate will reach everybody through mail. And I wish I can meet both of you sometime so that I can share my appreciation in person to you.
Yeah.
Thanks a lot. Thanks a lot,
Thank
Dr.
you.
Sandeep. Thanks a lot, Dr. Prashant. Thank you very much. Thank you. We log out right now, sir. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you.
you, sir.